Welcome back to New Day Northwest. If you've ever played a musical instrument or been a part of the musician community, you know it can get pretty intense if you get to those higher levels of playing. Well, Kenny Werner is the author of a new book called Becoming the Instrument, which gives some pretty thoughtful advice on self-mastery, both in music and just life in general. So your book is called Becoming the Instrument. What does that title mean to you?
It means that when a person has learned to keep their mind out of the process and trust what's being created, then they don't have a desire that is sort of permuting that. And they can, and so another thing is a spiritual implication. I'm not committing to knowing anything about what's out there, but that doesn't mean I can't use what's out there. Imagine it's playing through me. And in order for it to play through me, I have to not interrupt it. Then I kind of become the instrument that plays the instrument.
Yeah. Is there a difference between simply listening to music and feeling it versus actually making the music?
Well, it depends, because there's so many different ways that people make music, so many different ways that people listen to music. Very often people are listening to music, but they're not really listening. Or there are musicians that will trust what's coming through them, and then musicians that'll make themselves sick. So in other words, you go from the most sickest way of making music, which is that every time you play, it's a statement on your life, which is not a well way to think of it. In fact, I tell musicians, don't judge the value of your life as a life by something, and I throw this in, as insignificant as how you play a musical instrument. In my book, I talk about people that are getting in their way because they're making it too important. But I also talk about people who have used music to move mountains, literally, to have overcome pain. Music is one of the most obvious evidence that we have of some kind of metaphysical condition on this earth. I mean, it's a physical earth, because there are so many amazing juxtapositions. But when it be used as a mirror, and, once you start becoming a musician or even an amateur musician, and you're beating yourself up for what you can play and you can't play.
It's an interesting idea, certainly, but doesn't, in a way, challenging yourself to be better make you a better musician, sometimes a better person?
Yes, but many people don't make that reach when they leap for that ledge of challenging themselves. That means you have a degree of self-confidence, you have a degree of self-respect, even a self-love, if it gets that far, that you will challenge yourself because it's not a statement about you. When people challenge themselves, the more importance they put on it, the harder it is to perform.
Yeah, that's so true.
So not only are you saying the truth when you say music is not nearly as dear and as valuable as life itself, not only is that the truth, but it might help you stop trying so hard at that moment. One of the bases of this book and my other book is that think about a time when you really needed to perform. How did you perform? Most people kind of go like this, especially on Zoom, they just go like, or they use the emoji. I say, now think when it didn't matter and you were filled with joy, love, laughter, or you thought it didn't matter. And they always say they did better. So by their own admission, trying harder is what made them play worse. Now that we know that, I would say to them, and this is a joke, no, now you'll never try again, right?
No, yeah.
Exactly. Because no matter how much you know that's the truth, your neural pathway is to try. Your neural pathway is to judge. The book is taught, I'm not a neurologist, and yet I knew this 30 years before they started talking about it as a science. If you want to change that pathway, then you have to practice doing something and loving yourself for doing it, not for doing it well. And over time, that can blossom into a new neural pathway.
Some interesting concepts from Kenny Werner there.